Hello, everyone. It's Dr. T. I'm a tech trainer and career coach, and I help professionals transition to tech by leveraging their existing skills and abilities. Today, I'd like to talk to you about the project manager role and preparing for a project manager interview. A project management is an integrated approach to delivering a solution or solving a problem. And all projects, regardless if they are construction based or IT based or healthcare based, they all follow a project management workflow and five key project management phases. Those phases are initiation, planning, execution, monitor and control, and closure. With the initiation phase, here's where you're kicking off the project. You have defined your scope, you know who you're solving the problem for, so you have your list of stakeholders, and you are ready to start planning. The planning phase of the project is where you are documenting those paths to get you to closure and a successful project being delivered. So your project management plans are in depth, they're comprehensive, and they will guide the next phase, which is execution. And here's where you actually deliver the solution. You are working with your development teams and you are utilizing the plans to actually implement a solution. Okay. Then you move on to monitor and control. So you've delivered the solution. Now you want to make sure that you have met the needs of the stakeholders and that you have delivered a quality product. And here's where you're checking for key performance indicators and key quality standards to make certain that the solution is effective. From monitor and control, you move to closure. And here is where you archive key project elements and you take your lessons learned and you develop plans to become better. So that's initiation, planning, execution, monitor and control, and closure. Those are the project management phases that you need to understand and actually use that understanding to guide some of the answers to interview questions that you may have. Now, we talked a bit earlier about the STAR method, and the STAR method is a behavior based approach to answering interview questions. So, with the STAR method, you are indicating that you understand the role and that you have experience in the role, and you are guiding the interviewer through your experience. You start with a situation. So, you talk about a work activity related to an interview question that you may have. You set the stage for your skill set. That's what you do at the situation part of STAR. Then you move to task. So here you're looking at, well, you had this specific activity that you were engaged in. What was the goal? What was the expected outcome for that situation? That's the task. You move from task to action. So here's where you give the interviewer insight into the steps you took to actually complete that task. This is all active. This is all about your level of engagement within a situation. You close out the interview question by your response to the interview question by giving the results. What was the outcome of the actions? And here you're transparent. If it was a negative uh, outcome, you want to talk about that and how you gained insight and you were able to grow from it. And certainly, if it was positive, you want to talk about those positive but measurable results here. Okay, let's look at an example. So, here we have a question from an interviewer about your involvement in a complex project that you managed and how you approached the project. So the question is, describe a complex project you managed and explain how you approached the project. So here we have a complex project. You're setting the stage for complexity that you managed. So you weren't just a team member, but you actually managed the project. And then the approach that you used. So this is what the interviewer is asking. And by the time you make it through the STAR method, you should have answered this question. How complex was it? What'd you do to manage it? What's the approach you took in managing it? Okay? So now let's look at situation. That's the S part of STAR. So here, a plausible answer, and one that, if it's aligned to your experience, you could say, well, I managed a large IT service management transformation project. So here, you're telling the interviewer that it was large, it was complex because it was both focused on IT service management, which typically is a quite a few moving pieces to actually deliver a new service within an organization. And then it was transformative. So you're keying in on the fact that this project was not just about adding a few new options, but it was about completely transforming the way that a product or solution was being delivered by your company. Okay, well, what else made it complex? Well, it had a tight deadline and it involved multiple teams, including offshore team members and third-party vendors. So here you've got a project team that's offshore and third party. So here you're cluing in the interviewer that you had some risk management responsibilities in managing this project because you've got some uh, offshore and some project members that are outside of the organization, and that poses a risk just in and of itself. Okay, so that's what made the project complex. So you've answered that. Now you want to tell the interviewer about the task that you were responsible for as relates to this complex project. So here your answer could be, well, my responsibilities included managing the entire project management lifecycle. So here you're saying, I wasn't just brought in to manage a piece of the project after it was kicked off. I was there from end to end, from initiating, where I may have been responsible for project charters or cost benefit analysis. I helped create the plans. I helped execute the plans. I monitored and controlled the entire integrated process and the solution. And then I helped to close out the project. I oversaw the entire project management lifecycle. So here you're letting the interviewer know that, yeah, I had a management role and it was from beginning to end. Okay, let's move to some of the actions that you took while you were managing this complex project because he wants to know what was your approach. Okay, so here you could describe where you use a combination of waterfall and agile methodologies to manage the project because he wants to know what was your approach to managing it. How did you manage it? Okay, well, I know about the various methodologies within project management, and for this project, I used waterfall and agile. Okay, well, tell me about the waterfall side of it. Well, I held status meetings with the steering committee as a part of the waterfall approach, and we met twice a week to report on the data center deployment. So you're letting the interviewer know that you all decided that the data center part of the solution delivery would be on the waterfall track, okay? And your responsibility was to make sure that the data center was on schedule and remained in scope. There was no scope creep, there was no scope bleed. So that was your approach from a waterfall perspective for the data center deliverable. You go on to talk about, well, I also worked closely with a Scrum Master to ensure that the Scrum process effectively flushed out any risk, any issues, and any impediments that would impact the software development side of the deliverables. Okay, so here we're going up to the agile side of things. So here you're giving the interviewer insight into the fact that you understand the Scrum framework, you have experience working with the Scrum Master, you understand the Scrum Master's role and responsibility, which is all about being a servant leader and removing impediments. And you relied on the Scrum Master to bubble up any risk or issues or impediments that came up within the software development side of the deliverables, so that you can engage and help close those out. Okay? Lastly, within the action, you could also talk about, well, I also attended sprint reviews. I made it my business to be there to see elements of the project be demoed. So you were there for the sprint reviews. You were able to hear and capture stakeholder feedback in order to ensure that quality was being delivered. So, and then that it was being delivered incrementally. So that each time a sprint, whatever the cycle was, you were there and you helped to understand or to double check that quality was being met, that every time there was a sprint review, that quality was being demonstrated incrementally. You were tracking the scope being delivered. So this is quite a bit of information in about what, 4 sentences, 4 or 5 sentences. So you include the interviewer in on how you managed. You relied on others to play a critical role. You utilize various methodologies to get to the core of delivering the right solution to the right people. You work collaboratively with teams to address issues and impediments to delivering on time, within scope, and within budget. Great synopsis of how you manage from end to end. Lastly, the R part of STAR is the results. So you could say that resultingly from all of this action and me performing these tasks within this complex situation, I helped to deliver a project that improved productivity, lowered the operational budget, and improved sales or increased sales by 30%. These are measurable results. This is a clue to the interviewer that you are accustomed to setting SMART goals and delivering results on those goals. So this is the type of approach that you could take to preparing for an interview and preparing answers to common interview questions. You want to paint a picture. You want to show your involvement. You want to be clear on the results and be transparent when the results were positive, and certainly when they were negative as well. So this is a STAR method. This is all about behavior and all about action. Okay, a very active approach to answering interview questions. I hope this was helpful. If you have any other questions or you have an approach that you take to preparing for interviews, let us know down in the comments. And don't forget to like, share, and subscribe. Thanks so much for your time. Bye.